Hi guys, in this video I'm going to explain the multisample editor. To start off, let's load a multisample into oscillator 1. So I select multisamples, FAC3, KV331 audio, and plug strings. Under plugged strings, we have Kanun. Let's load that. This is an Oriental instrument basically. Okay, it sounds good. So let's move the mouse over the oscillator display and let's click on this pencil icon to bring up the sample editor window. The sample editor window basically allows us edit multisamples. Each multisample consists of one or multiple groups and one or more regions under each group. Groups basically allow us edit common parameters for the regions under that group. I will talk about this later on in further detail. So let's, for instance, click on some regions here on this list box or on this sample view. And as you see, the region is selected. I can click on this play icon. As you see, when I click on this play icon, I can basically play the selected region. And if I have a MIDI keyboard connected, I can click on this MIDI select button, and then when I press a key on my MIDI keyboard, the corresponding region is selected. So this way I can easily figure out which sample is playing for a certain key and velocity range. I can also select multiple regions so that I can edit all of them together. For this, I'm pressing the Control key on my keyboard and then I'm clicking on the regions to select them. By clicking on the same region again, you can basically unselect it. Okay, so for instance, I selected those regions and now I'm going to change their low key property. So as you see, I changed this property for all of those three regions. Another way to select multiple regions is to click on an empty area here and then move your mouse like this. So the sample regions that intersect with my selection basically are selected. Let's, for instance, delete those regions. So we have the menu, edit menu here. These are the edit operations that we can perform for the selected regions. Let's delete those regions. And after deleting those regions, I want to just extend these regions. So I select them and I click on extend velocity. So as you see, their velocity ranges are extended. And now we have a simpler multisample compared to what we started with. I can also select regions by clicking on the items on this regions list box. For instance, I want to just reduce this multisample. Because it has samples at every semitones, but I want to make it at every 2 semitones, for instance. Let's press the Control key on our keyboard and then let's start selecting, for instance, let's select at every two samples like this. And then from the menu, let's select delete region. Okay. So let's also delete this one. Okay. Now we have we have less regions now, but we have some gaps here. So to fill the gaps, I'm going to select all of the regions. And I'm going to click on this extend key button so that these gaps are now filled. So for instance, if I click on this region, its root key is C2, which is actually highlighted here. This is C2. And this sample basically plays between B1 and C2. So if I press B1 on the keyboard, this sample basically plays. If the root key of my sample region is not correct, I can edit it either in semitones or cents. I'm using the mouse scroll wheel, for instance, to change the root key here in semitones or cents. As you hear, when I change the root key, the play note changes basically, because the play speed is changing based on the root note. Now, there's another easier way to figure out the root key. And we're going to use the sample view here to figure out the root key. So I'm going to zoom in on the sample display here. And I'm going to select a single period. And while selecting, I'm going to press the shift key so that I'm selecting 0 crossings. So this looks like a single period of waveform. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to select set selection as root node menu. So when I do this, it figured out the root key as exactly C3. Let's try another period here. Again, C3. Let's, for instance, go here. Okay, so these are 3 periods. Yeah, let's use this one. So it's off by 1 cent. So you can just use the sample display here. You can select one single period. Don't forget to press the shift key and set as root node. And this is how you can figure out the root nodes if they're not known for each sample region here. By the way, by default, when you import samples into SynthMaster 3, it uses the root node, it picks up the root node either from the file name, for instance, this is C2, or the wave file header, if it exists in the wave file header. But for demonstration, I use this method. So it figured out the root key as C3 2 cents, and let's play. It's off by 1 octave actually. So let's use the scroll wheel to change the octave. Cool. So on this sample display, I can also edit other parameters of the sample region. Let's look into those. For instance, I can change the start sample. For instance, let's start from here or here. I can also apply a fade in. Let's, for instance, have a long fade in like this. These values, by the way, are in samples. Let's zoom out and increase this fade in. Okay, a short one should be okay. As you hear, when it reaches the end point, the volume suddenly drops. So let's apply also a fade out. There you go. And also, we can also change the end point like this. So if my sample was looped, right now it's the loop mode is no loop. If it was looped, then we would also be able to edit the sample start and end points. But for now, I'm not going to do this. That will be in another demonstration. So yeah, this is what we can do with the sample display to edit the region parameters. Let's now continue with the other important sample region parameters. For instance, one of them is the playback direction. By default, the sample plays forward. But I can also play reverse. Backwards, I mean. Another playback parameter is the keytrack. By default, keytrack is 100%, so that when you press a different key, the playback speed changes. Let's make this forward. But if I make it 0, for instance, the playback speed will remain constant when the note changes. This is useful when editing drum samples, actually, or I should say non-pitched parameters. For pitched samples like this instrument sample, yeah, the key track should be 100%. There's also transpose, so that you can transpose your sample. For instance, let's make it one semitones or 2 or -1. For instance, you want to transpose the entire all of the regions, so I can select all of them and enter, for instance, 2 semitones. Let's make it 0 again. There's another easier way to change the parameter value for all of these regions. I'm gonna click on this group name here. So when you click on the group name, you are actually editing the group properties. So for instance, let's make this transpose 1, okay? Or -1. So basically, when I enter it from here, I'm changing it for all of these sample regions. And when the multi-sample information is saved, this transpose is only saved for the group, not for the regions, because these regions share this common parameter from the group. So yeah, let's make this 0 again, and let's go look at the quality parameter this time. So by default, the quality is normal. At normal quality, we use linear interpolation to change the play speed of the samples. There's also low quality mode, which is basically sample and hold interpolation. Actually, there's no interpolation. It's basically sample and hold. So it's low quality. So So if you want to have some lo-fi effect when playing the sample, you can use this low quality mode. There's also a high quality mode. This uses 8-point interpolation. It is especially, this one is mostly useful when you are playing the sample really very slowly. At slow speeds, the normal quality can generate some artifacts, but with the high quality, those artifacts almost go away. There are also some volume amplifier parameters for our sample regions. Again, I'm going to demonstrate them using the group. So we can change the pan. We can change the gain, the volume of the regions. For instance, let's decrease the volume by 3 dB or increase by 3 dB. I can use my mouse scroll wheel to change the value. I can also change the velocity sensitivity. By default, it's at 100%. So when I press the key at a low volume, I hear less volume. And when I press the velocity, when I press the key at a high velocity, I hear it louder. But I can change the sensitivity to 0, for instance. So at any velocity, it plays the same at the same level, which is the maximum level actually of this of the sample. I can also change the velocity curve for the sample regions, but for that, let's first increase the sensitivity to 100. Now let's play with this curve. Or like that. Or let's make it. By default, this curve is linear. But as I said, I mean, you can change the curve slope so that the volume changes according to this curve. You can also do that. Now I'm going to go back to the sample properties and explain the loop. But to explain the loop modes and loop properties, let's change the sample. I'm going to load a single sample, like a bowed string. Let's load a sustained sample. For instance, this one. Okay, let's load this sustained sample. So this is a single sample, and by default, the sample already has loop points. But for demonstration, let's clear the loop now and start playing. Let's zoom in and select a single period. And first, let's find the root note from here. Okay, so the root key is C3. Let's make it C2. Now I'm going to turn this selection into a loop. So as you see, these are my loop markers now. And let's zoom out. This worked pretty well. I can, if I'm searching for loop points, I can, press the play icon here, and then let's search for loop points. While searching for loop points, when I move the loop start marker, it's basically selecting points where there are 0 crossings. But by pressing the shift key, I can actually do something more advanced, so that it basically tries to match a period which resembles this selection here. So let's start from here again. Well, this sustained sample has a really good loop point already, so this works well. Let's zoom out, and I'm pressing the shift key, and let's use a larger loop point. Now I can also turn on crossfade. Basically, if I turn on crossfade, so let's increase the size of the crossfade. Basically, what crossfade does is, I'm using linear crossfade, so this part of the sample is being crossfaded with this part of the sample before. So this part and this part are crossfaded, and this is the length of the crossfaded section. And I can change the crossfade type to exponential or cosine or square root. But for this sample, I think linear worked best. Well, this is sort of trial and error, so you just have to play, and while playing you have to change this crossfade position. So this sounds okay, I guess. For loops, there are certain modes. So far I was using the continuous mode. Basically, in continuous mode, when you release the key, the loop continues playing. But if I set this to sustain, then when I release the sample, it's going to play this portion of the sample. Let's actually increase the release time for the sample, and then we can see the effect of the sustain mode. As you see, the playback continues from here in sustain mode, but in continuous mode, it's looping constantly. So yeah, this is how the loop mode works basically. And the thing is, if your sample already has loop points defined in its wave headers, those SynthMaster will import that information and use that information. Okay, so we explained the sample parameters and the loop properties, and now I'm going to talk about slices. But for that, let's load a sample which can be sliced. So sliced samples are basically looped files. Let's select a factory sample, for instance, for this one. This is a drum loop at 85 BPM. So let's use this one. Right now it's playing like a regular sample. So when I play a higher key, it's playing faster and everything. So I'm going to edit this. I'm going to select this. And instead of sample, I will click on slice. So now it's gonna be played back using this sliced playback algorithm. Now, by default, this sample file does not have any slices defined. So let's detect the positions of the slides. For that, I will change this mode to user. And now, as you see, it created some slices for me. And I can play with the sensitivity here. So it can detect less or more. For instance, let's make this highest. And let's also zoom in here so that we can change the slice positions. Let's also zoom in. Yes, I think this looks okay. And let's I think there's also a slice here. So I will double click to add a slice here. There's also one here. And this one looks almost correct. So let's actually play this now. Now, since this is a looped file and it has a BPM defined, I'm going to enter this BPM here, 85 BPM. And just keep in mind that right now my BPM here is 120. As you see, when I change the tempo of this sliced file, the loop file, since my DAW BPM is 120, it's playing. It's now playing faster. And if I change my BPM here from Reaper, I can even make it slower, like 70 BPM. There's actually one more slice here, I guess. Well, playing slower doesn't always work. Let's play at 80 BPM. And to play with the transients, let's also add some fade in and fade out. These are in samples, so I'm gonna enter 44. This is 1 milliseconds. And for the fade out, let's make it 10 milliseconds. And now let's make it faster, 110. Okay, so now I have my slices defined. If I want, I can actually convert this sliced region into multiple regions. For that, I'm going to click on this menu here, and there's a menu here, separate slices as key regions. So let's do that. Okay, now I have multiple regions here at different root keys. These I can see the root keys here. So let's try playing using our MIDI controller. Sounds good. So I can just play these samples, all of them, as one shots actually. Sounds good. And if I want, I'm gonna select the group and I will add some fade in and fade out to all of those regions. Okay, I think it didn't work, but here's what I can do. Let's select all of the regions, and now let's try adding fade in and fade out. Okay, I did that, and there's one important feature I want to demonstrate for the slides, slices. Now I converted these sliced file into multiple regions, and if I want, I can actually create a sequence. Let's select all of them, and there's a menu here, generate sequence for regions. So I'm going to select this menu, and let's go to the sequencer here. Okay, let's zoom out. And now, as you see, it generated a sequence for me. And since this is a sequence, I mean, now I can play with some sequence parameters. Like, I can change the speed. I can add swing. Let's make it 16th. I can also change the gate. I mean, the choices are endless. Once you start playing with samples, I mean, you can do lots of different stuff. So I think this is basically how the sample properties work. I explained the playback, pitch parameters, the sample and loop parameters, and also the slice parameters. In the next part, I'm going to explain the trigger parameters, which are really important. And for that, I will also import some samples. To explain the trigger parameters of multi-samples, I'm starting off with an init preset. And on the oscillator display, I'm clicking on the plus icon and I'm selecting new multi-sample. SynthMaster asks me to select a root folder for my multi-samples. I have some multi-samples prepared for import. So let's select this piano import folder. And one thing I noticed, these samples here are in FLAC format. And SynthMaster actually supports FLAC format, which is a compressed audio, lossless compressed audio format. So when I look at the samples, I see that we have pedal down, pedal on, and pedal off samples for the piano samples. So I will first select the pedal off samples. Let's select them and hit open. And now SynthMaster is actually importing those samples. SynthMaster looked at the root notes for each sample, as you see, and set the root key to the correct note. But as you see, we have some gaps here between notes. So if I want to play samples, it's not playing this one because there's no region assigned here. So I will select all, and then I will extend key. And this way now I can play all of the samples. Sounds good. So I'm going to click on this, I'm going to double click on this group and name it pedal off. These are the samples for pedal off. So I'm going to click on the trigger tab here, and we have lots of choices for triggers. For instance, the note trigger is set to attack. We can also set it to release. By the way, since I selected the group, I'm editing parameters at the group level. So for all of these regions, I'm editing parameters now. If I had some release samples for the piano, I would have used the release trigger. But since these are regular samples that play at note on, I'm selecting attack trigger. Now there's also MIDI CC trigger. Since these are pedal off samples, I'm going to set the MIDI CC to 64. 64 is basically sustain pedal according to MIDI standards. So this is the sustain pedal 64. And since according to the MIDI standard, sustain pedal is off between values 0 and 64. Or actually I think it was 63. And for 64 and above, we're going to use the pedal on samples. So for that, for those samples, let's also create a new empty group. And I'm gonna name this pedal on. And for this group, I'm selecting this group, and I'm setting the MIDI CC to 64 again. This is the sustain pedal CC value, and the values are going to be between 64 and 127 versus for the pedal off group, the values are between 0 and 63. So let's go back to the pedal on group, and now I'm going to import the remaining samples. This time I'm going to drag and drop the samples. So let's search for piano on samples this time. I'm selecting them, and I'm going to drag and drop. Okay, as you see, it's again found the correct root notes, and I'm going to select all of these regions, and I'm going to extend the keys. So basically now I have a multi-sample, piano multi-sample with pedal on and pedal off samples. So let's try playing some samples now. As you see, when I press the keys, this group is triggering basically, not this group, because right now my sustain pedal is off. I'm going to press my sustain pedal. As you hear and see, now it's playing the samples in this group because their trigger properties are different. Their MIDI CC trigger values are different. So this is how we can trigger notes using MIDI CC values. I basically used the sustain pedal to demonstrate that. We also have other trigger types like round robin and key switch. And now I'm going to, in the next part, I'm going to explain the round robin. To explain round robin triggering, I'm going to start off with an init preset again. And I will select new multisample. This time I will use some different samples for round robin demonstration. Sample import, multisample import. Okay, so I'm going to search for files that have RR1 in them. Yes, let's use these. Let's import them. Okay, so I have these samples, and we have four samples that for 5 different root notes, and each sample is sampled at 4 different velocity settings. Let's select all, extend keys, and then let's try playing. Oh, lower octave. Okay. This is basically a synth multisample I actually rendered with SynthMaster 3. I'm going to name this group as round robin 1. Okay, so this is my first group, round robin 1. And I will go to the trigger tab, and for this group I'm going to turn on round robin. Let's make it round robin. And let's set the sequence number to 1. Now I'm going to create another group, an empty group, and I will name this round robin 2. And now I'm going to import some samples to this group. Again, from the same folder, sample import, multisample import. And let's search for RR2 this time, round robin 2. And let's import. As you see, when I move my mouse, the import type changes. At the top, we have automatic import. If you select automatic import, the root notes of the sample files are used. If you select same key import, all of the files are imported to the same key. This is useful for drum samples. And for chromatic import, I mean, you can import them chromatically, starting from the selected note here. But since I know the root notes, I will select automatic imports. Again, I will select all, extend keys. And for this group, I will turn on round robin again, just like the first group. But this time, I'm gonna change the sequence number to 2. So when I play a key, as you see, when you press the same key, it's switching between groups because if a note, if a sample region is part of a sequence, round robin sequence, basically we increment sequence number at each key press, and the sequence number cycles between 1 and 2 for the played note, like this. As you see, it cycles between groups 1 and 2. Now let's add a third group, round robin 3. And let's import some further samples here. This time, let's select RR3. This is the round robin 3 group. Again, automatic import. Select all, extend key, and now I'm going to edit the round robin type round robin, and sequence number is actually 3 this time. So if I play a note, as you see, this time it's cycling between these 3 groups. And if I want, I can actually change the round robin type to random. Let's change it to random for all of those, and I hope this works, guys. As you see, now the groups are changing randomly. Let's actually change the transpose to 12, and this one 12. So this is how you can basically use round robin to cycle between different samples. This is especially useful if you have multiple recordings of an instrument. Like you can, for instance, you have a drum sample and you sampled it at similar velocities but at different positions, etc. So you can use round robin to have a richer sound for your acoustic or percussion instruments. And finally, I'm going to talk about the key switches in the next part. To explain key switches, I'm starting off with an init preset again, and I'm selecting new multisample. So let's select a folder again for our multisample. Sample import, multisample import. Okay, so first I'm going to import these 5 synth notes. This is going to be my first key switch. Let's select all and extend keys. Let's name this key switch C. And if I click on the trigger tab, the key switch key for this group is C-1. Basically, let's open up the virtual keyboard here on Reaper. Basically, the first octave, the notes between C-1 and B-1 are reserved in SynthMaster 3 for key switches. So basically, you cannot use these notes to play any notes. They are used as key switch notes. And by default, a layer's key switch note is set to C-1. But now I'm going to create a second empty group, and I'm going to call it keyswitch D, which is going to use D-1 as a key switch node. So let's import some further samples to this group. Let's use RR4 samples, for instance. And I'm going to use automatic import. Select all, extend keys. Okay, so this is my first group, and this is my second group. Now for the second group, I'm going to select the key switch key as D-1. So by default, my key switch key is set to C-1. So if I play a note, this group is triggering. But if I press this key, D-1, now when I play a note, so as you see, by pressing this lowest octave, I can change the key switch groups, and this is very useful for playing sampled acoustic instruments. For instance, for our multisamples here, we have bowed strings. Like we have different variations of, for instance, cello or viola. We have pizzicato, staccato, sustain, and tremolo. So what we can do is we can assign pizzicato to one key switch, staccato to another, sustain to another, and tremolo to another one. And we can use these key switch nodes to switch between these sample groups. By doing that, we don't have to use multiple oscillators or multiple layers. We can do it all together in one single multi-sample. And this is the purpose of using key switches, basically. And as a closing feature, I'm going to show how I can save my multi-sample. So I created my multi-sample. I can click on save, and I can either save the SFC text, or I can save the SFC text and also the samples. For instance, let's choose this one. Let's create in a folder like sample export. And let's rename this key switch synth. Okay, SynthMaster now saved it. So let's take a look at the saved file. Sample export, and as you see, I have the SFC text file and my sample files. So if I open this file with Notepad, okay, so this is my SFC file. And since SFC is an open standard, you should be able to open this SFC in other synth softwares, in other synth software that support SFC format. As you see, we have all the information here. And that's all I can say about the multi-sample editor. I hope you liked this video, guys. Thank you for your support.